Hi. How are you
Hi.
doing this morning, Andy?
I'm quite quite well. Sorry for the disgusting interlude.
That's great. It's fantastic, man. It's good to see you. This is cool
Yeah,
technology. We can do this from like hundreds of miles away.
I know. I wish you could be here or I there, but here we are.
Here we are. And it's
Hopefully
cool.
you have a cup of coffee.
I've got a
I
cup of
do.
coffee.
Excellent.
I'm caffeined up and ready to go. So
Excellent.
we're talking about a new guitar today, right? You kind
Right.
of showed us some of this when we were out visiting the factory. More of a prototype. This is kind of the final version of what you've been working on. And yeah, I'm excited to just pick your brain. I've got a really nice example here.
Well, you got a Koa one.
I got
Yeah.
a color one. And which one? You've got a Honduran rosewood one?
I've got a Honduran rosewood one.
Nice.
So
Well,
between the two of us, we're quite a pair.
so I guess that's something we'll get into. But I guess to start at the beginning, first of all, what is this new guitar that you've come up with?
Oh, probably the easiest way for me to describe this thing is it serves as a counterpoint to some of the other guitars we make. So like let me set this one down for a minute because
Okay.
I happen to work in a guitar workshop. So I have lots of guitars. Okay. Here's a guitar we're well known for.
Yep.
This is a Builder's Edition 814. It's a quintessentially modern Taylor guitar. It is the high fidelity, ultra high performance, very piano-like, linear, microphone friendly, studio friendly. It's all of what modern acoustic guitar has turned into for us. Armrest, fancy cutaway so you can get all the way to the end. Like, it's a great guitar. I love this guitar. They sound great. They play great. It's a very modern design. It represents a lot of what Taylor guitars is. Accurate necks, great intonation, great playability, good serviceability, reliable, super cool balance. It's wonderful. Love it. This guitar, it's driven by the V-Class design inside. And when we first came out with that, we started voicing those to be very Taylor-like. We know what we know what we are, what we build, what we're known for. We're aware of that, and we like it. That's why we choose to do that so often. At the same time, I look at this design and go, that is one of the most adaptable things that we could work from. It's an incredibly, what's the word? Varietal or something? It's a design that you could manipulate in a lot of different ways to get different sounds.
Well, that was kind of your goal when you were first designing it, right? To have
It was
something.
one of the things that maybe it wasn't the primary goal, but in the process of building, you go, oh, wow. Hey, if we could do this, then, wow, fill in the blanks. There's a lot of different directions that this thing could go. So we've been dabbling with that. We've dipped our toes into the water with things like the GP design when we came out with that. We've done, I don't know if you remember the maple flame top guitars. That was a very different kind of sound. There's different things that we've done with that, which is cool. But when I think about the world of acoustic guitars as a guitar player, go, man, there's this entire, think of it as a community of guitar players. There's a lot of common understanding of what different sounds are like. And a lot of appreciation or affection for some of these sounds. And so in this case, I go, well, I want to create a guitar that is a nice counterpoint to the ultra-modern Taylor guitar that we make every day. I want to retain the good parts that we're known for. Ultra-accurate intonation, great playability, great fretwork, reliability, serviceability, all those things. Those are great attributes to serve a musician well. But I want to create a different sound because I like those sounds too. And so that's, in a way, that's what this guitar is it's an alternate. It's a counterpoint piece to go, well, we have this, and if that's not the flavor you like, or if that's not what your music is, what you're looking for, well, guess what? That's cool too. Here's something different. And so when you pick this guitar up and you strum even just a single chord, you go, well, this is a very different kind of a guitar for Taylor to make. Right? Whole different kind of thing right at first strum.
Right. So when we first saw it, Cooper and I got to play around on it. It was a lot of fun. It was definitely something different. What you just described and what I hear as a counterpoint is that there's kind of a softening to the leading edge of each note. There's a pronounced mid-range thickness to these guitars. And aesthetically, it looks like you've kind of followed that through in other ways too. Am I right in that?
That's totally right. So when I listen to or try to describe the sound, well, I'll fail at it because it's using words to talk about sounds, which is weird. But you'll hear a pronounced richness in the low end. Mm-hmm. Like it's a thicker, wider, broader low end response that carries all the way through the mid-range. It has this kind of maybe like a muscular character to it or something like that. It's like a guitar with an old soul.
Yeah.
It has this thing. Even in the high notes, you go, man, there's like this woody body kind of a sound that supports the note. So yeah, it's a smooth attack. It feels like it's been, I don't know, aging in a barrel for a long time or something. It's very smooth, but there's this strength, this lung capacity behind that every one of those notes. That's something I only hear in an older, very traditional design. Where it departs from a guitar that's like a traditional guitar is that all of the notes, even high on the neck, will play very well in tune and have really good balance.
Yeah. But there's a thickness there.
Yeah, there's this thick, mature kind of a sound. It's like the not diet version of a guitar sound. It's whatever that is.
So taking a look, so I think people generally, they'll pick up a guitar, and at least for me, I often say the guitar finds you. You'll look at guitars, you'll play a few guitars, you'll find something that sonically kind of, jives with what you've had in your head. But people come first by looking at guitars, and this guitar looks vastly different from the rest of your guitars.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we make this sound. I go, okay, there's a couple of basic things that create that. And when I want to take this a different direction with the sound, unique feel. I love that. But you want the whole presentation. I want the experience of playing a guitar to be cohesive. Otherwise it feels, I don't know, kind of jarring or off-putting. It's like if I felt this and I heard something that was like a Telecaster, you go, this is weird. I don't like it. This is like the wrong sort of thing. And so I wanted the cosmetic package of this guitar to look appropriate for the sound that I'm hearing. And so it's got some cues taken from kind of earlier eras of guitar history. It's like this headstock design. The sharp-eyed Taylor.
That's a different headstock for sure.
It is. The sharp-eyed Taylor players will see, the classic Taylor side scoops and points. The middle section's actually something taken from guitars I used to make in my pre-Taylor life. The back set angle is more of a tip of the hat to like the mandolin, banjo, early archtop guitar tradition. I love that. The inlay design, the line weights, all that kind of thing has a little bit of that feel to it. Even the engraved celluloid. I mean, that's more of a banjo and early archtop guitar kind of trait.
And the whole shape of this pickguard is like the Taylor shape, but again, kind of softened and lines redrawn a bit. And...
Yeah. All of the shapes. I mean, this shape we've used on our Builder's Edition guitars for the bridge, but I like those curves. You know, you soften the points off. You go, yeah, this is a little more like what I would have seen 100 years ago or 80, 90 years ago, somewhere in that range. You go, yeah, it's appropriate for what I'm hearing out of this guitar.
And so going back to the headstock, if people missed it, an entirely new logo.
Right.
Was that something that you were working on? It looks pretty scripty, kind of by hand and everything.
It was a literal draw it by hand, and I'm going to put that on there because that's what we would have done back then. It's kind of like imagining a different evolutionary path or something for guitar. You go, hey, well, you know, if I'm putting some of this on, what would I have done? Yeah, let's go this direction. That'd be a fun detour to make. I think that's appropriate for this guitar. So yes, I drew that out by hand, and that's what we're inlaying.
What are you calling the inlay pattern on this?
Continental.
Continental.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny story, actually. I mean, it's weird to think of names for instrumental songs, paint colors, inlay patterns. You go, look, if you're writing a song that has words, it's easy to come up with a title. Try to name an instrumental song. Right. That's hard. It's coming up with a way to describe an inlay pattern is kind of like that. I happened to be in Chicago when I was playing with this design. I was outside this little bookshop, and there's this neat little ornamental bracket, this ancient cast iron looking metalwork bracket that held up the sign right as a 56 Continental drives by, which is a favorite car of mine. It's rare to see one out in the wild. And went, look at that. Okay, that's what I'll call this one. So that's where that came from.
That's fantastic. Other touches that you've got on here, that's pretty cool. So you've got, is this wood that's inlaid around the abalone on the rosette?
Yeah, it's actually Honduran rosewood. These two guitars are basically identical. We're going to build this instrument as sort of the first installments in a collection of guitars that bear this idea. And so no real clear time frame of when there might be others. We're starting with this guitar, and it's available in two woods. But the guitars are appointed in similar ways, or identical ways, actually. Yeah. It's really just a wood swap, either a koa back and side with roasted spruce top or Honduran rosewood with roasted spruce. Same Honduran rosewood bridge, which is kind of an interesting departure for us.
Cooper had a question on that specifically because it's very rare. I can't think of another time I've seen it where the bridge and the fretboard have not matched. And I figured, knowing you, that there's a design reason specifically to use Honduran, knowing how much you enjoy using Honduran rosewood, to have it on the bridge. Yes,
there is a reason for it. It has to do with the kind of the guts of this guitar. Okay, so there have been a couple, in fact, maybe even a prototype that you played had an ebony bridge. It works pretty good. Ebony is a really great wood to use for a bridge. Very durable, very hard. This particular voicing of E-Class actually borrows some traits from a more classical fan brace style guitar. And so, yeah, it's a V-Class body, it's a V-Class design architecture, and the exact way that you sort of tune it by changing the shape of this part, the position of that one. This actually has a little inspiration from some of the earlier like Torres bass or Ramirez Rodriguez style fan bracing. And so we have that going on inside, and like a classical guitar, this guitar, it seemed appropriate to use the unique damping factor of this ultra dense rosewood for the bridge. But I do really like ebony for a fretboard. It's really nice. Sounds good. It wears really good. It's pretty. We love ebony. And
works well up for the inlays.
just like a classical guitar. I mean, the tradition in the classical guitar world is you use ebony for the fretboard, and you use a very, very dense rosewood for the bridge because of its unique damping factor. So that was the basis for it.
That's awesome.
It sounds nice. All that to say, sounds nice.
Sounds nice. It works. So peering into the sound hole, this has a familiar name and an unfamiliar name. So I'd appreciate if you could explain kind of what's going on, because it's a gold label, so I guess that it speaks to the collection idea that you were talking about. And then it's an 814E, but it's a super auditorium. So this is not. It looks like a grand auditorium, but I can feel the difference when I'm sitting with it. So you talk about what's changed with it?
Right. It's an entirely new shape. So if you were to take a tape measure and measure, say, the lower bow, the kind of specs things that people want to measure out.
Sure.
It's pretty similar. Not exactly the same as the grand auditorium guitars that we're known for, but those measurements are pretty similar, kind of in that medium-ish sort of range in the world of guitars.
Mm-hmm.
And so it should rightly wear the name Auditorium. That's what describes a medium-sized guitar. And it's not the same set of curves as our grand auditorium guitars that we're known for building. Different set of curves that connect those dots.
Mm-hmm.
And so this one needed a different description. So super seemed appropriate. So this is a super auditorium.
Is it the same depth roughly as a?
Yeah, it's in the same ballpark.
Okay.
They're quite similar in depth. But the internal volume, so the air, the lungs inside that body are different, is a different kind of scenario, because the curves that complete that perimeter are different. So it's a different volume of air. It's like that chunk of air that forms your lung capacity of a guitar.
Yeah.
That's different than our normal grand auditorium.
Gotcha. That's fascinating. So looking at it, the other things that I saw immediately on this guitar was it's got a different pickup. There's no controls over here. There's some sound hole controls. And then the neck joint, which we'll get to. But what's going on with the pickup in this guitar?
In this, in the same way that we look at the cosmetic aspects of the guitar, go, well, let's do what's appropriate for the musician who would find this guitar attractive, wants to play with a sound like this. Let's decorate it appropriately. Mm-hmm. Well, I want to amplify it appropriately too. I love our ES2 system. It's great for a lot of players in a lot of environments, in a lot of different types of guitars. That works really well. But for this guitar, it seemed most appropriate to not have the knobs up here. I didn't really want to drill the holes for those and put that in. It just didn't seem like the right thing to do for the guitar. Sound hole controls. That makes more sense. That's more appropriate. Same with just a simple, traditional undersaddle style pickup. It fits the way a lot of players would want to use this guitar. Mm-hmm. Works, again, very well for a lot of styles on a lot of stages. And then if someone wants to change out to something else, it's real easy to just kind of evaporate that system, take it out. There's no evidence of it.
Yeah.
Put something else in.
Yeah, that's often been a nice thing of aftermarket pickups, because I've switched mine a few times over the years.
Yeah, things are always developing, and there's different flavors. I think of this guitar first and foremost as an acoustic instrument. That's what it's designed and built for. And the pickup is simply to amplify this particular design. And so depending on the environment, maybe that's this pickup, maybe it's a different one. But I think that the player should be able to make that choice. So right now we're using... say that again?
Was this a Bags that's in here right now?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it in the past, but Lloyd and Company are good friends of ours. And so wanted to use one of his pickups in this guitar. So if we're using a simple Bags undersaddle pickup in there, standard end pin jack, works out real good.
So now to something a lot more complicated. What's going on with the neck joint?
So one of the big parts of this guitar is that it's our introduction piece for a new style of neck joint that we've developed. Been working on this for a number of years. So let's give a little background. Okay, you're well acquainted with doing a neck reset on a traditional guitar, whether a mortise and tenon or a traditional dovetail. I've done a lot of those on a lot of guitars from a lot of eras. Now, personally, I don't mind it. But that was because I was on the receiving end of the player's money when I would do that work. Like, I hate to admit it, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. It's time-consuming. And I don't think it serves musicians all that well. And so the way that we've built guitars for the first 25 years of Taylor's history, where you used hardware to attach the heel to the body and glued just the fretboard down, that's a pretty good improvement in terms of serviceability and a way to keep the guitar in good playing condition. Well, around year 25, we introduced the Taylor neck or the NT neck system, where the entire neck gets attached with hardware and ultra precise spacers so you can control the angle. That was a huge leap forward because that let you have ultra precise control over the neck angle on this guitar. And if you want to change it, takes 20 minutes instead of a month.
Yeah.
You know, it's quite simple. Well, that's great. And at the same time, I go, I think we could do better still. What more can we do? Well, this guitar has this new neck joint. So for the next era in Taylor's history, this is a fully adjustable neck. Okay, so this neck, it's a long tenon design. So it actually has a sound and a feel that's very much like a traditional guitar neck joint. But this one adjusts with just a simple turn of a screw. There's actually a little adjustment bolt right inside where you use the same wrench that you would use on a truss rod, and you adjust the neck angle to wherever you want it to be, and you're off and going. You don't detune the strings. You don't even hardly retune the strings. You just adjust it to where you like the string height, and you play. So for the life of the instrument, setting this guitar up will be a truss rod adjustment and a neck angle adjustment, and then you go.
And I've taken a lot of Taylor necks off over the years to do adjustments on people's guitars. And I mean, from the outside, it doesn't look any different whatsoever.
Exactly. When we make an innovation, I want it to look and feel like a continuation of what we understand a guitar to be. Right? So that's why I love when we came out. Let's say I wasn't here at the time, but when Bob and the development team here came out with the Taylor neck or the NT neck, it looked like a regular guitar neck.
Right.
Well, that's brilliant. That's wonderful. You come out with a different bracing architecture or something. Well, of course you can't see that. It's all hidden in there. So I don't want the guitar to look or feel weird. I just want it to feel like a musical instrument. And so that was one of the criteria that I wanted to build into this design is it needs to look and feel like acoustic guitar. So in this case, it's even a little lighter weight, except that it adjusts. And interestingly enough, I get to have a neck that has a sound that's very traditional because of the way it couples to the body. That's kind of an interesting thing to get to work with. So
it's awesome.
It's a pretty exciting piece for us.
It's one point of adjustment. It's working off of a pivot and just changing the angle.
That's exactly it.
That's cool. So I think, what have we missed on the guitar? Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet that maybe the average person wouldn't recognize when they pick it up or that sets it apart?
Only that we haven't gotten to play any songs with it. I mean, it's one thing to talk about guitars, but I'm always a fan of going, just play it. That's really the best way to experience this guitar. Pick it off the wall, play a couple of chords on it. You'll see right away what's unique and different about it. Because all the details, they're fun to appreciate. It's fun to look at, headstock design and beautiful inlay work and pick guards and appreciate all the nuance and the thought design that goes into it. But at the end of the day, these are guitars meant for playing songs. So that's, I think, the best way to understand this guitar. So this will be a new collection of guitars. It's going to be called an 814, but it's a gold label 814, which is an entirely different animal than the 814s you've known and loved.
So let me ask you this, and I do want to tell you real quick, I played this for someone that's on our staff that's not a guitar player at all. And when we got to see the prototype, I had an experience when Cooper was playing it where I was like, and I said to you, this is responding from a different place altogether. And this non-guitar player, as I played in front of him, said, that guitar is responding from a different place than a normal guitar.
It's coming from a different place. Yep.
So my last question for you, Andy, is I'm curious you're a guitar designer. You spend your day thinking about this stuff. And when you come out with a new model, a new design that you've been working on, what is it like to put that out and await kind of the feedback from the guitar playing world as it is? I mean, guitar players can be a curmudgeon-y lot, and sometimes they flock to the new, and sometimes they're very stuck in like, I only like this particular thing. And I wonder how it feels for you to say, I've put my heart and soul and sweat and blood into this thing, and I hope you really love it.
I appreciate that. I think maybe the closest thing that I could relate it to would be like, you look at your kids. You go, man, this is going to be both painful and a wonderful joy. You're going to see some heartbreak. You're going to see some tough things. You're going to see some challenge. You're going to see some joy that is just unbelievable. It's going to come in all those forms. It's like a parallel to the way a musician feels when they make a record. They write a new song. It's absolutely terrifying to play and sing a new song that no one's ever heard and go, this song was an extension of where I was at then. It's a self-expression. It's a thing. I hope it does something for you. And if we can connect through that, then my job is well done. And so, yeah, it's quite an experience. So you sort of understand. Yeah, there will be some that look at this and go, no, this isn't for me. I don't like it. And there are going to be others that pick it up and say, I never thought this would exist, but it was as if you built something for me personally. Go, if I can get some of those and I can contribute to a musician's experience that way, make their life a little better, then I'm happy with it.
That's awesome. We're excited to put it through its paces. Cooper wanted me to tell you that he hasn't stopped thinking about it since we played the prototype at the factory, and we were excited when we got this. And so he's thrilled to have it in his hands, while we've got it, and we're going to be putting it through a lot of its paces with proper miking and everything. But just
that's
from
awesome.
The time we've had it, it's a phenomenal guitar. I'm impressed.
Thank you. Yeah, it's also fun to hear them both together, the Koa version and the Rosewood version, because they're different colors, kind of within the same shade, but they are different sounding guitars. So you line them all up and you play one after another. Go, man, this is a different day altogether. This is really fun. So yeah, fantastic. I think you'll have a good time with it.
Well, I'm excited to compare and play them, and I'm excited to see what else you're going to do. If this is the gold label's a thing that's here to have new stuff, it's going to be an exciting thing to see.
Hey, there's a lot of good coming. We're 50 years into this guitar building adventure, and guess what? We're not done yet.
Awesome. Well, Thanks so much, Andy. I appreciate the time.
It's my pleasure.